I'd like to begin. I'd like to begin with a fact.
All right, welcome back, Millennials, episode 92. Our first guest we're having on via Zoom, stand-up comic, director, the guy that actually introduced me to stand-up comedy back in 2012, probably.
Yeah.
Good friend Tom Garland is on the show. Tom, what's up, man? How are you?
Thanks for having me, Brian. I appreciate it. I appreciate the kind words. You're acting like I didn't ask you if I could come on your show. So that's really, he's a big rock star. He's sending random podcast DMs asking if he can come on and promote his stuff. So I appreciate it, man. I'm excited to see you. I'm excited to do this, dude.
Yeah, man, it's been a while. So for all my listeners out there who I've dabbled, Tom, and kind of told stories about like this one time that I tried and failed to get into stand-up. But I don't know if I've ever even told you this story. But basically the way it happens, Facebook had just started.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were plugging the open mic that you used to do at the Iowa City Yacht Club.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful marketing, because I thought, oh, yacht club, I need to come button down,
dressed up. Yeah.
Like rich ass white people. And the Iowa City Yacht Club was not that. Was not a yacht club by any means. It was actually a former mortuary, right?
Yeah. It was like a hole in the wall bar that like was a mortuary, then turned into like a house, apartment, crack house thing. And then in the basement, this cranked out basement full of bricks was, we put a comedy show together. Yeah,
dude. I think probably not the first comedy show in Iowa City, but definitely one of the most long running ones, at least while I was there, for sure.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. We did it. Yeah, we were there for I did every Monday there, like on and off for like 6 years. So it was wild, dude. And was that your first time ever?
So that was my first time. I remember, I think I messaged you like on Facebook, and I was like, hey man, I want to do this open mic. I don't know how to do that. What do I need to do? You're just like, show up, like 7:30, 8 o'clock, whatever, just come down, put your name on the list. I was like, okay, well, like, I guess. So yeah, man, we're catching up a little bit before we press record, but I mean, I still credit you with being one of the best just open mic and comedy hosts I've ever worked with, for sure. But that I've also just seen going out and going to clubs and going to shows, man.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. I've been doing it a long time. You know, I'm just pulling up on it was 14 years, not that anybody's counting on this month. So I was like excited to get there, and you know, I was, you know, been doing stand-up basically every week since then. So that was, you know, I started in like 2010. So I was probably only like a 2-year comic when you started coming down. So
yeah, I think it was right in there. And yeah, I was trying to think, Tom. There was the dude that was like the Air Force vet, Bobby.
Oh, Bobby Ray Bunch, maybe.
Bobby Ray Bunch. Yep.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. Yeah, I think he still does it somewhere. Like he lives in LeClaire, Iowa, or something.
Does he?
Like that, I think now. Yeah, I've lost touch with him. He's funny though. Yeah.
Yeah, he was awesome. And Bruce J, who I know you worked with for a good.
Yep. Yeah, Bruce was the best, dude. Bruce passed away, but he was like totally my mentor in stand-up and in all things entertainment and whatever. And so yeah, he was the best.
We could probably do a whole podcast on Bruce J.
On Bruce J. Yeah.
That guy, I was actually thinking about this when I was, prepping for the show a little bit. Bruce, and I've never been to like a 3 a.m. comedy show in like LA or New York where people are just like coked out and just spitballing about God knows what. But dude, that was Bruce J.
Yeah.
You would go down there and he would have, 10 minutes or whatever and just scream at people in a microphone. And I didn't get it for probably a good year of watching him. I'm like, I don't know what this psychopath's doing. I didn't realize till much later that like the true like art form that was.
Yeah, he was incredible. And I thought when I met Bruce, I thought he was like this transient homeless guy, like I thought he was like a crazy drunk freak weirdo. And then later I come to like kind of realize like I'm like, oh my God, this guy's a genius. And and so I wanted to spend as much time around him as possible and learn from him. And he was totally like, he was my coach in all things, especially like, and we can talk about this, but I had different mentors that I kind of pulled stuff from, not material, but like lessons in stand up and how to maneuver through. Cause there's no real like book or like lesson plan. Like if you want to be an engineer, there's like a clear path to being an engineer. But if you want to be a comedian, you have to or a podcast host or any kind of artist, you have to like navigate this whole weird, treacherous thing on your own. And so Bruce, I definitely pulled like a lot of my creativity process from and all that sort of stuff. So I don't scratch the surface of how transcendental and weird that he would get, but I like to dabble into it sometimes. He was very non sequitur and just different.
Yeah, he had his prosthetic leg that he would pull in the middle of his set and just like wave it at some pretty girl in the front row or something, just to see how bad he could freak her out.
I remember, so he's missing his leg, right? He's got the prosthetic leg, and I remember one time somebody heckled him, and they were like, "That's not funny. That's just sad. Like, it's not funny to like make fun of your prosthetic leg." And he was like, "Well, it's my leg that I'm missing. Like, that's not funny." And so he goes, "Tell me this isn't funny. Row, row, row your boat." He's like going with his leg. He's got his leg off and he's rowing the boat.
There's just
this is probably like not hitting because nobody knows him, but like if you knew this guy and you saw him, it was incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, just a total, like I said, a genius in his own right for sure. And probably the only guy that was doing it. Oh, 1 sec, Tom. We're getting that warning message already.
Oh no. But I see it. It's like time left. Yeah.
Oh, we got plenty of time. But he was probably the only guy there for a good bit who like had success in kind of the entertainment industry that we were hanging out. He was, doing open mics because he was out in LA. Was he doing stand up out there or doing movies or something for a bit?
Yeah, kind of his all the above, man. He had it's kind of the 2-second story on him was he had a successful career in movies and commercials and television and stand up. He's in LA and going back and forth between there and Vegas. And then he had diabetes, and he gets gangrene in his foot and has his foot cut off. And then he moves back to his parents had died and he inherits their house. And so he moves back to their house in Cedar Rapids and starts to run it in like a flop house because he doesn't have health insurance or money or anything like that. And so then, of course, he was kind of in a sense transient. And so when I meet him, I think like, well, this guy's really crazy. Well, he had been through a lot of stuff, a lot of mental health stuff, a lot of literal health stuff. And so at that point, once his big thing that he always told me, I'm jumping all over the place here, but his big thing he told me was, he was like, nobody ever believes you. You have to show people, killing is the calling card. When you go up and you kill, then everybody believes you. But otherwise you'll say stuff, you'll be like, we were talking about comics we know earlier. You'll say somebody's and they're like, you don't know that guy. But then when you go up and kill, they're like, I don't know, maybe you do, like and stuff. So at first I didn't believe him, just like he said. And then later, as it became more evident how good he was, he started to tell me like, no, when you go to the Laugh Factory, you want to do it like this. And when you're at this club, it's like this. And that guy, he wants to see this and stuff. So he was just like this plethora of knowledge. And at that point, his career was kind of over. So he was just willing to do stand up for fun and share all this knowledge, which was like, to me, like a completely invaluable resource, to just tap into.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome. Like, again, I still go back to like just the wildest and craziest. Now, I don't even think I was old enough to be. I think it was the only bar I could like not even legally hang out in at the time either.
They wouldn't card you and whatever. They just let you come in. And we liked, at first I tried to control all that. I wanted to be this host that was like, I'll shut these people up. I'll do this. I'll straighten the room up and whatever. And then I just leaned into it and I was like, no, let's just make this crazy down here. Like, I want this to be total chaos. Like you said, like a 3 a.m. type in LA type deal where everybody's just like cranked out and crazy. Like, I liked that. And I start to feed off that. And that kind of became a catalyst for everything I did on the road, where I embrace hecklers, I embrace chaos and that sort of stuff. I like to work the crowd. I like to get in there and play with them and that sort of, so yeah, that was definitely like something that Bruce taught me that I became like almost like a motivator for me,
I had to go get some McDonald's scratch offs. You know what it's like.
Oh yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. You watched some of my stuff then. That's cool.
Yeah, it was really funny, dude. I liked it a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I actually saved a Taco Bell cup from the other day for this interview, which dude, good segue actually, because all right, so kind of catching Xavier up, we were just kind of talking about how you kind of got started in stand up, and then how I kind of was here for a quick segment, but we're kind of getting a point in time. I mean, sort of got to a point where again you started like touring a little bit and things started to kind of pick up for you in Iowa. I think that's when you started touring with the guys from Jackass, right? Like Steve.
Yeah,
right?
I did. Yeah. So originally I meet Steve-O, and I was getting to the point where I was starting to open for people, you know, like I was getting opening spots or feature host spots. And so I opened for Steve-O like twice in Iowa. And then eventually I asked him, I was like, hey, if an opportunity comes up, and he let me open for him in Las Vegas. I was still living in Iowa at the time. So I like fly out to Vegas and open for him. And I thought like, oh, this will be really cool. I'll be around Steve-O a bunch, you know, and learn from him. But then I'm not trying to name drop or anything, but Steve-O had the show was with him and Tom Green. So then I get to spend all this time around Tom Green, and they hang out with famous people all the time. They hang out with Chris Angel and all these people in Vegas and Carrot Top and whatever. So all of a sudden I'm like, I'm emerged. I'm still like this Iowa kid. I was 22 or 23 at the time. So now I'm like around all these, you know, big time entertainers and that sort of thing. And so I kind of came back from that stint and with that knowledge, and I was doing Tom Green's web show. Like it was kind of like this, you know, but I was like doing his web show and like helping write questions for it and stuff that he would ask his interview people. I stayed networking with him. And eventually the gate really opens when he has Preston Lacey on one day, the big guy from Jackass, right? And then so then I meet Preston through that show. And Preston, he's from Missouri. He talks like, he's like, Garland, I got to do some shows. You know, I'd like to have an opener and stuff. And I ended up managing him like in the comedy world. And we toured and that kind of took off. And at one point we did like 40 shows all across the country, was probably our biggest run. But I did stuff with Preston for a long time, and that led me to working with other celebrities like Rob Van Dam and people like that from WWE. And so I kind of niched out this world of being like a tour manager and doing that. So yeah, I've been all over the country, dude. I've been all over East and West Coast Canada, and yeah, I played. I think I've like 40 some states or something like that. So
yeah, that's you did a movie with Rob Van Dam there, right?
Yeah. So we're doing these tours, and then my friend Joe from college, Joe Clark, he went to the University of Iowa. He was is a really talented filmmaker. And so then at one point I said to Rob, I was like, we should be filming this, dude. Like, and Van Dam was really cool and chill. And he was like, okay, like just bring your guy. And so we bring Joe Clark on tour with us. And so he's filming the whole thing. And then Van Dam has a concussion because he's still wrestling at the time.
Oh,
and so then it goes from like this stand-up documentary and it kind of shifts into a concussion documentary. And so I kind of learned the documentary stuff just by osmosis, by being around Joe and what I had studied some film stuff in college and whatnot. But that's called Headstrong. That's out. It's still out. It's on Amazon. And it's really good. I say it's really good because I'm in the whole thing.
I like how you say that it's still out. Like it hasn't been canceled yet. It's actually
right. And I didn't mean it like that, but you know, sometimes with like indie movies, they'll be up and then all of a sudden the distributor will change or something. And then you're like, oh, I saw this doc. I can't find it anywhere. You know, cause it's not Marvel, you know, it's not like these big productions, but we had a lot of success with that, still are. And it was a great project. I had so much fun working on it.
And you did kind of in that time, you did 2 comedy albums. You did.
Yeah, before that was like when you and I were kind of kicking it in Iowa City.
In the yacht club. I remember that.
Yeah. I recorded those there. And I probably wasn't 100% ready to do those, but that's how I've always been in my career. Is I've been like trying to just like, you know, you guys are content creators. You understand? It's like, I'm no good unless I'm putting stuff out, you know? And so I was so eager, and
consistency is better than anything else, right? You're just like, as long as you're consistently doing something, you're like, hey, if you're putting the effort into you need to, things kind of fall into place when you need them to. A lot of
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And I was starting to do longer sets, so I thought if I lay them all down on tracks, then I'm able to not only probably get the word out and promote and stuff, but then I'm able to later play with it and decide like, okay, I do like that, I don't like that didn't get as good, and then start to film that 30-minute, that hour. And it really, I still go back to it. I look back at those albums and they help me structure sets and stuff. So
still listen to them. I've downloaded them, so they pop up on my shuffle every now and then. I'll be listening to Tupac on my way into work, and I'll be like, "Yo, Jesus was gay."
That's terrible, dude. I'm so sorry that like I interrupt your vibe.
No, I love it.
1 second it's like Kanye West, and it's like ding, ding, and then the next second it's me like, "Hey, motherfuckers!" Like that's terrible.
How many different specials do you have?
So I have the two comedy albums, and then I've done like some small local TV, like straight to like Fox local, what do they call that? Like regional TV. I've done some sets on those and stuff. I want to drop a big special, like a real filmed live thing, then put out. But like, this sounds like it didn't happen, but we were talking earlier. Nobody ever believes you, right, Brian? So I was supposed to record one in Vegas, and it was supposed to be in April of 2020. And then in like whatever it is, March 15th, they shut the world down. And so that didn't happen. So I'm still kind of looking at a place where I could record. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard, I listened to one album, but you had Andy Milonakis,
Yeah.
All right. Funny story real quick. I've probably told a story on this podcast before. I went out to California with 3 of my friends. There's like, just to go hang out, and we're all hanging out. One of my friends is like texting me, or I can't remember if it was a phone call or if he texted me, and he's like, "Oh, you're in LA? Like, you about to go hang out with some celebrities?" I was like, "Yeah, dude." And he's like, "Who?" And I was like, "Sam, my friend Sam." I was like, "Name a celebrity." He was like, "Andy Milonakis." I was like, "Yeah, we're about to go hang out with Andy Milonakis either tonight or tomorrow." And he's just like, "Ha, whatever." We're in Venice Beach, taking it the next day. And let's just say I had some fun guys, right? Hanging out with them, right? And so we're sitting there, and my friend Jessica and Christian Mendoza are from Tennessee originally, moved out there, so we met with them. So we're all hanging out. Jessica comes up to me. She's like, "You never guess who's sitting over there." I was like, "Who?" She goes, "Andy Milonakis."
No way. That's great.
I manifested it.
I was like,
"Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's like, man, that's like, what's that book, The Secret?" You visualize it.
What? I walked up to Andy Milonakis. He's got like his what is he doing? He's like live streaming him walking around talking to people. And I walk up to him.
Screen? That's great.
Yeah, I walk up to him and I'm like, "What's up, dude?" I'm like talking to him for a minute, and I tell him the story. He's like, "It'd be like that sometimes." I was like, he was cool, man.
Yeah,
he was cool.
That was kind of that same stint there, Tom. Weren't you touring with Andy for a good bit?
I did not tour with Andy, but all those people, like I said, I met through Tom Green. So Tom Green was like the plug for all that sort of stuff, So I think if I remember right, I get Andy's email like through Tom Green and all that sort of. But Tom was just later. We do a bunch of shows again out in Vegas together. But he was so generous, dude. He's the nicest guy. He like plays like he's super weird on his in his act and in his movies and stuff. But in real life, he's cool as shit and has just been, I don't know why he's so nice to me and so generous and whatever, but he's been super cool to me and always kind of taking me under his wing with projects like that. We even through the documentary that I worked on, Arcade Gamer, I had texted Tom Green and was like, "Hey, can I use some of your music?" Because he had like this weird country song I wanted to use that he had done recently. And then he was like, "No, you can't, because I'm using them for a documentary." He goes, "But do you need help finding music? Like, can I, and I was like, "Why are you still helping me? Like, this is like, I was like, I don't know what I've ever done for him, but anyways, he's a great dude." Yeah.
Is he still on the road touring, or like in his like RV he has?
Yeah, that's when he did the country. So I think what he did was he did that, and then he moved to Canada. But now he's starting to branch out again. He's doing like, we have a mutual agent friend, and he's doing shows for that agent that I kind of partner with sometimes and stuff. So I know he's branching out again. I know he's doing more stand-up again.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're picking up steam at that point. And again, like us back in I were like freaking out. We're like, "Fucking Tom and Steve, what the fuck?"
He was in town last night.
Oh, was he?
Either last night, night before last. He's at the skate park.
Yeah. Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. See, there's your sign, Tom. You got to come on now. But
Right.
you were talking about before we got on camera, like you're kind of building up steam, and then what kind of led to you shifting out to Vegas then?
Yeah. So eventually, like I'm like perpetually on tour, right? Sometimes I come home to Iowa and like switch my clothes out at my apartment, which is basically turning into a garage, right? Like I'm never there and stuff. And then whenever I'm not in Iowa or on tour, I'm going to Chicago and I'm sleeping on my buddy's couch who did stand up there. And so much so that I have a key to his apartment and he just lets me come and go. I become this like couch surfer in Chicago. And I do on and off for like 7 years of this touring. Whenever I have a week off, I'm in Chicago and I'm going up on all the shows, 14 times a week, getting as much sets in as I can. And I thought that was going to be like a break for me and stuff. And I can kind of talk, but it kind of led to certain stuff, but not others that you'd think. And so eventually I'm like, it's kind of like I had this romanticized vision of like, oh, I'll be this comedian warrior guy. And then I realized like, well, I'll never really get ahead. I'll never have health insurance. I can't date. I'm losing friends. Like, and it was rock and roll, dude. It was super cool to live like that. But at the same time too, it was like, it was exhausting. And so finally I decided like, I've got to get off tour, but I don't know what I guess I'm going to move to Chicago. And so one night I'm at the Chicago Laugh Factory and there's this little bar next door, this little Irish bar. And so I learned from Bruce that you never get drunk at the club, right? And so, because then they see you get drunk and they don't respect you. So we would get drunk at the bar right next door.
This guy's always on top of his shit. Like he's every single time, like he's going places. Next door, you're just like,
they've like thrown me out of this, but like next door, the manager would ever go next door, he'd think I'm the worst person in the world, right? But so there's like a thin wall that separates to this chaos. But my friend had come out from college, he had lived on my floor at the University of Iowa when I was like a freshman, and so he comes out and he's not a comic, he's like hanging out at the show. And he's like, hey, I play poker now professionally, and I'm going to move to Vegas, and you're going to be my roommate there. And I was like, I'm not moving to Vegas.
I'll pay for it.
He goes, I'll pay your first month's rent because I don't want to live with some weirdo. And I was like, yeah, we're moving to Vegas. That sounds great. And so, yeah, so I moved out there, and within a month of moving there, this is just totally, it's like your Millennialistic story. Yeah. Tom Green comes out. He gets a residency at Bally's. I live down the street from Bally's. All of a sudden I'm opening for him again. We're doing 5 shows a week there. And I'm on like a residency deal within my first month of moving there. So that was just sheer luck. And yeah.
Sometimes stuff just really lines up like that. This is like a side note, but like I'm reading, Joey Diaz is Joey Coco.
Yeah, I know Joey Diaz. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his. I bought his book. Actually, I didn't buy his book. I'm sorry. I got it for Christmas. My girlfriend got it for me. I got his book and I've been reading it every night. And like his life story is hopefully it gets made into a movie because it's fantastic. There's so many things in his life that have lined up for him, like when they should not have. Like, yeah, insane thing. Like, so how he used to be like a big drug dealer.
I didn't know that, but here's my little sidebar to that. So my one of my best friends in comedy is this guy named Tommy Easter or Thomas Easter. Look him up sometime. He's a killer, and he was Joey's opener in LA. Yeah. So he did all of Joey's stuff. So it's funny because like, being around Tom Green, it's like not only do I know some of these famous people, but I know all their openers too, which is always so if I don't know them, if I'm like, well, I don't know Joey Diaz, but I know his opener and I've heard everything about him. So, but I didn't know the drug dealer thing.
Yeah, he sold drugs to like Whitney Houston and like what's that guy's name? Living La Vida Loca was
to Ricky Martin.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I saw Ricky Martin in Vegas with my wife. We got like
he made it. Martin's coming. We were talking earlier about guys making a comeback. Ricky Martin's going on tour.
Wow. Oh, really? He was in Vegas and we got like free tickets to him. And then like me and my wife went, there was like nobody there. And then I'm pretty progressive, right? But we were like front row, and then like there's like these big jumbotrons of dudes making out, and I was like, let's go do something else. Let's just. I'm on a date. This isn't where I saw the night going. But he was really talented. He's really good.
One thing that like happened for Joey Diaz, I'll just I'll put this in here. So he was selling drugs, and he was like, at one point, and knew that like the cops were watching him. And he's like, I'm probably gonna go to jail. And he had a pack of something, and he decided to hide it somewhere, like in like a newspaper stand, but like underneath it, because they never move them. He said that's what drug dealers do back in the day. And he went to prison, got out, and then the halfway house he was sent to was across the street from where he hid the stuff like years prior, right? He went to go check, it was still there, and he needed the exact amount of money the drugs were worth for what something he needed to pay for. This stuff happened to him all the time.
That's crazy.
That's story is it's special.
It's just wild.
Yeah.
That's great. That's wild. That drug probably went up. That was probably inflation.
Yeah, he probably got a little.
It's like, oh, this shit's worth more now. Even that's good. It's like that's like stocks and bonds. That's awesome.
Stocks. So you stayed out in Vegas for 3 years?
I think 3 years more or less. I show up there in 2020. I met my wife there, which was awesome, and we kind of ran around Vegas together, and I started playing. So the Tom Green thing eventually ends. I think we lasted like 8 months or something like that. And then, so he kind of goes and does his own thing. But by that point, I'm like locked into the scene. So I start playing all the clubs. And then we were talking about Chicago. The lady that managed the Zanies in Chicago moves out to Vegas. Her husband lives out there. And then, so they had like gotten married out there and this whole thing, but she starts booking the MGM Grand. So then I get into MGM Grand and I'm playing it through my time spent in Chicago. So it wasn't a total waste of time. Yeah. So that's how I break in there, and I play like, again, I'm not trying to name drop, but I play like the Stratosphere, the MGM Grand, playing at Hollywood. At one point I was doing a thing at the Rio where it was like a Kiss tribute show, and I was like the comedian that would break up the time. I did all this weird stuff. I was on all these production shows, and I did a thing where we dressed up like convicts at the Hooters casino, and it was like a variety show. I was on all this weird, but I was just performing, like, again, it's about the same as Chicago. Like, you know, you're getting like 14 sets a weekend, and that was great because I'm basically touring. It's people from all over the world, but I'm not leaving, and it's only like a 3-street town. So like, yeah,
different crowd every night.
Yeah, different crowd every night. And then I got really into crowd work, and then, which is now a big thing. It wasn't necessary. It was just starting to, like you mentioned, like Facebook's just starting. Comics have always done crowd, but really banking off that and using that to blend the stand-up was just starting to get. And so I kind of leaned into that, and I was able to do that all the time because it's like, oh, where are you from? What do you do? Where are you from? You know, and then they're all from all over, and I make an improv out of that. So that kind of becomes my big thing. And then
there's a lot of comics who are doing that. I feel like the person who stands out the most to me, who's like the crowd work king, is Andrew Schultz.
Schultz is great, dude. He's a killer. See, the thing with not to go off on a tangent here, but the thing with those clips is that sometimes you see a comic talking to the crowd and they're like, what do you do? And then they're like, oh, I'm in construction. And they're like, construction? That's cool. And that's like the clip. I'm like, that's boring. That's not what you're doing. But he is like, I kind of do a similar thing where I make an entire improv out of it, and it blends my material. And that's good stand-up to me is that. And you know, if you're Joey Diaz or you're somebody, maybe they don't want that from you. Maybe you have such an interesting life that they want to hear your stories and stuff. But I got to a point where I realized, like, people don't know who I am. And so they don't want more. If you're known already, like you're Tom Green, then I want to hear Steve-O. I want to hear the Tom Green story. I want to hear the Andy Milonakis story, that sort of thing. But with me, I'm like, they don't care about it. So more of them, less of me, you know, is what I really started to get into.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think he's been canceled since, but Matt Rife was like on a hot streak there.
Wait, what's he canceled for?
I think Matt Rife's great. I don't know why he gets so much hate. I saw what he got canceled for. I didn't think it was that bad, but maybe that makes me the worst person.
Special. I didn't see his Netflix special.
You getting canceled for like being a professional stand-up comedian is stupid. It's like you say, unless you're the dude from Seinfeld, Kramer, like
Right. He was done. Yeah, exactly. He was way done. Yeah. Well, I think, now when you do something in your personal life or you get socio-political or something like that and it doesn't work, then that's, that you got to keep yourself in order. But yeah, like when it's Matt Rife's thing, I think was he had people complaining about his special. I don't know what for. I didn't watch it because I don't have Netflix, but they were bitching about his special. And then he had a link that said like, you guys should buy the, and it was like mentally handicapped helmets or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, is that like cancelable like that? I think if you were going to buy a ticket to him to see him with his shirt off yelling at people, then you were going to do that anyways. Like,
I think he went real hard on some chicks. He was talking about in a special about like the crystals and astrology and like these chicks, dude. I was like, I'm not a chick who's into this, but I'm offended.
But
But it was so dead on. I watched it. I was like, that's hilarious, dude. Like all the religions are kind of crazy. You think about it. He's like, I'm just taking a shot at that one, but like, he's like, everything has something that's like, really?
Mm-hmm. Totally. And I think sometimes you can split a room up though. People always think politics is the thing. The women-men thing can be a thing. Like I usually I tend to play safe where I play more them, less me. And so I play towards the women. Whereas some guys get going against that grain, but like women buy the tickets, women have the power. Like people think like they get thinking like I'm a man, and I'm like, nah, not in modern society. Like that's women's in charge. So I tend to not play that route. But at the same time, I'm not gonna hate. I'm not gonna be like, screw him. I never want to hear from him again. Like Joey's another one. You're gonna have a following. Before we started, we talked about Joe Rogan. They've tried to cancel him. I don't necessarily have an opinion on it, but he's gonna have a following. So I think people just need to accept that.
I think we've talked about this on this podcast before. I think as a society, we have started to learn that of like, you can't really cancel something. Like we talk about like CK Lewis and like Chris D'Elia, like after the whole
CK is one of the greatest of all time. I own
even
DVDs.
After all that shit though, like CK put that special out online and probably made a couple $1 million, I would imagine, doing it.
He's not gonna they're not going to stop him from making money. At the same time, I think what CK did is outside of the arena where like, it's not something he said. He was like, let me block a door and jack off in front of you. Work for me. And then that's probably like, well,
but who hasn't done that? Yeah.
right. This guy.
I mean, when you're on tour, you're on tour. Right?
Yeah. Me and Preston Lacey used to block doors in front of each other all the time or whatever.
That's right.
Preston's just so fat, I just couldn't get around the door. So that was just kind of
No, I don't think we even had a door in the yacht club. It was just the curtain or something.
At the yacht club, it was just a nasty curtain. That's funny, dude. That's
nasty curtain.
I think we called it a green room because
it was that you stole it, dude. It's that tapestry behind you. That's what it was, dude. It's been if you pull that around, it says property of the Iowa City Yacht Club on the back.
Ooh,
dude, that would be awesome.
That's hard times.
Just messing around.
I don't even. That place probably isn't even still open. I think it's under new ownership now.
It is, but it's a comedy club. Did you know that?
Is it really?
Yeah, I don't play there, which is even funnier. But I'm actually proud of that. Like
have they reached out to you at all?
No, not at all. Like, yeah, I don't know, dude. That's like, what's funny is that nobody's ever like famous in their hometown. Like that's why you tour. You go everywhere else because then all of a sudden, like, yeah, if I'm in Vegas, they're like, oh, it's a big, and I'm like, you have to understand, like, people probably hate me where I live, so it's like,
how to be a big enough city for you to be famous in your own town. If it's a little town, it's not this. I don't think it's the same.
Yeah, exactly. And the same, you're in the little town and people are like, he ain't shit. That's why he's from here,
Jealous haters.
Yeah.
They know you from high school. They're like, you peed your pants in middle school. This guy's an idiot.
Well, now,
fuck you.
Yeah.
Okay, goddamn it.
That pee's worth a lot.
That's funny. That's great.
Hell yeah. So, okay. So fast forward. So you moved back to Iowa with the whole COVID shit.
Yep.
That's when you kind of start, I mean, kind of recently here, but started getting more into like the filmmaking side of things.
Yeah, well, I think we were talking before the thing where you said you leaned into the podcasting during COVID out of, So then I started being like, what's funny is I still did some stand up during COVID. So like there was this show in Vegas that was like, it was like once a week. And the guy was like, I'm not shutting down. And he was like breaking all the rules and this like little Mexican bar. And so we start going down there, and I'm like, me and this Tommy Easter that opened for Joey Diaz, we're still going down there all the time, but we're like, we don't know what to think about COVID. So we like run in, perform, then run out the door, and nobody's wearing masks. Nobody's following rules and stuff. And it was rock and roll, dude. It was super cool underground stuff. But then I realized, I was like, 8 months later of Vegas not opening up, I was like, I don't know what the world's going to be. So I moved back to Cedar Rapids, where I'm from. And then, things start to open up, whatever, 6 months, a year later. And I go on a bachelor party with my friend DJ Dorrington, now DJ Bracker Dorrington. He did stand up with us. You might not remember him.
I don't think I ever met him, but I remember you talking about him.
So anyways, I'm on his bachelor party. And his brother's on the bachelor party, his brother Jordan Dorrington. And Jordan and I went to high school together, and we're kind of tying one up. And all of a sudden Jordan says something about, he's like, oh, I'm really good at arcade games. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And he's like, well, I'm the best in the world at the game Galaga. And I'm like, fuck off. How do you even measure that? And he's like, I have the world record. You can look it up online. And I was like, really? And so we start getting into it. And I was like, we should film about that. Like, we should film a documentary about that. I have camera gear. I know how to edit. I did video production at different points and stuff. And so that's what we did. I filmed Jordan. I had at one point I had 40 hours of footage of him that I had shot at different arcades, and it became this 45-minute movie called Arcade Gamer: The True Story, which is out now. It's on Amazon and Tubi and Fossum, which is, I'm really proud of. I thought it was a great project.
Yeah, man, it was awesome. Yeah, and that's of course what we're here to talk about, man. It's an awesome project. I mean, that's crazy. It's just like a bachelor trip in Vegas that sparks the idea.
That's how it works.
Like you said,
we were in Iowa City, actually. That's what's even funnier is we were old guys back in Iowa City. There's kids looking at us like, what are these dads doing here? And we were getting all messed up. So yeah, so this is all back in Iowa, and he lives here in Cedar Rapids, so we shot it all here. Yeah,
no, I love that about the documentary that you show Marion and all the other small towns that you're in. That's where if you know that area, it's awesome. Where Xavier probably didn't get it, but oh hey, there's our other monitor there. But oh shit. But yeah, man. And so it's Jordan and your buddy Matt too, who holds every single record for Donkey Kong.
Yeah, so Jordan introduced me to, we kind of had a partnership, and I was like, Jordan, I'll tell you what, I'll film this movie all about you, but I need you to introduce me to this world because I don't know arcade games. I play video games, but I play on the Xbox and stuff. I don't play, we're talking vintage stand-up arcade games, old school. And so he was like, oh, there's a whole community of people. This one guy's a world record holder in Donkey Kong and all these different, Donkey Kong facets and spin-offs. And he lives kind of out by Des Moines, which is 2 hours from us. And so I was like, well, let's go see him. And then we all go to a Donkey Kong tournament, and that's kind of what it leads up to. We go to Arkansas, again, to a small town. I just thought it was so funny how all this takes place. You would think all this arcade gaming takes place in Tokyo or something, but so much of it was taking place very much like stand-up, very much like the Yacht Club, in these dingy little venues, in these beat up old arcades. And I was like, that's so cool, man. And so but yeah, Matt McGill is hilarious, and he was a great find, and he kind of, he steals the show at different points. He's a worth shooting a documentary, on just in general. So
dude, I had that set up when I was asking you earlier about are you thinking about doing a spinoff? That's what made me think of it. When that scene where Matt's talking about how he got into arcade games, growing up as a kid, and his dad off the bar, that in and of itself is a documentary or a feature.
Yeah, and both of them were so vulnerable with that. Jordan let me around his wife and everything, and Matt starts talking about his family and his upbringing with his dad and what he went through and why he's a gamer and all that sort of. And so what I really liked about it was we didn't, and I kind of made this decision, but for us, but I didn't want to show too much of the gaming and get too technical where it's like, well, you see, that's a 10,000 point power. I didn't want that, you know, like, yeah, sorry, it's not a classes slight, but the other thing is that I wanted it to be something that grandma can watch, not playing video games at all, and still see some human element there and say like, you know, it's just like anything. You got a dream, you got a motivation, and they just, you know, they're going for it.
Some guy just beat Tetris. I think the first time. I think it's maybe 2 people.
I saw that. That's that whole story is incredible too.
I don't know how long he's really how long he's been playing to that point, but you see when he like breaks the game, essentially, he's just he's in shock.
Yeah.
Matt says in the documentary, he's like, if I wanted to beat Jordan's score in Gallagher, he's like, I'd really have to hate myself. And that took me a second. I was like, oh shit, like, he means that. I'm like,
yeah,
you really have to like post up and fucking do this for
When Jordan beat the world record in Gallagher, he played for 14 hours straight on a stand-up arcade machine. 14 hours, you know,
straight, like no bathroom break.
So you can park the ship and you get a 5-minute break. So you get like, you can at different points take a 5-minute. So like go have a quick smoke, use the bathroom really quick, but then you've got to come back. And the other thing is once you're in the zone, you kind of forget and you just start like anything. You're like, oh, I'm winning. I don't want to quit. And it's an endurance thing too. So the Tetris thing, it's funny because we've been all talking on the phone about that, how that's so similar and whatever.
Yeah, dude. No, it's wild. And Matt, I know, was like the first one to kill screen Donkey Kong Jr. He said,
he's incredible. That's really his garage. Obviously, like this is like a micro budget film. So like his garage is just filled. It's like a boneyard of arcade machines, and he suits them up and fixes them up. And he's in there all the time. They stream on Twitch. You can watch them play. They play all the time and they're incredible. Like
they seem both, and maybe more Matt than Jordan, you'd know better, but like they both seem very like technical, like they could take apart and rebuild each of those machines in there.
Yeah, so Matt's the one that gets real technical with the rebuilding and all that. But you know what's funny is they're both very technical with the games where it's like it gets into timing and they could speak better about this, but there's patterns and stuff that you fought in those old games. Now everything's like free roam. You're playing Call of Duty. There's no pattern to that. It's just chaos, but this has like there's tricks to it and little ins and outs and so they're experts at it, and it's really neat. It was just something where I can't get past, they call it a board, like the levels. I can't get past the first board in Donkey Kong. And I played hours and days while we worked. We'd take a break and I'd play a little bit. I can't do it, dude. So it was like, I thought maybe being around it, I'll pick some of it up, but no, none of it.
It's like being a pro athlete. Like,
yeah,
either you got the fast twitch muscles or you don't. The focus and the drive, it's like you gotta have everything line up for you.
Yeah, and people become experts at different things. They become these gurus of whatever, and you can be in that niche world and really excel. Like, I tried to show in the documentary that doesn't necessarily translate into money and fame and whatever, but that still doesn't mean that in that niche world you're killing it. So yeah,
it's wild to think that almost every single person on this planet, if they were sitting to the right direction, they could be an expert at something. There's something everyone could find. Not everyone always finds it, unfortunately, but there's a passion that aligns with your skills also. It's like, oh, this is what I was meant to be really good at.
Xavier, I think that's a super intelligent thing to say, because I think I completely believe that. And that's exactly what we were trying to show in this, and show that human spirit element, that it was like, anything that you get fired up. If I'm a firm believer that I don't necessarily believe there's a thing they say when you're a kid, like you can be whatever you want to be. That's not necessarily true. I don't know if you can
go for it. Not just like you can, it's like make the kid believe that, and then maybe they can find it.
Yeah. But you're right in that when you find the right thing, you can excel at it and you can be an expert and and really dive into something. And that's about drive and human spirit and that sort of stuff. So yeah,
that even alludes. He has a line like that in the film of like, I just really believe that if you want it more than anybody, or can't remember if it's Matt right there. Like, if you really want it, you really, 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 really want it. And then like, yeah, for us, it's like these silly video games, but like that translates to life.
It's not easy.
Sure.
It's also like, not to get too deep on about this, but like it's the same thing with like, there's a partner for everybody. Like if there's a person for you in the world that would work out well, you're like, hey, you could have longevity in this relationship if you were to find the right person. But that's a hell of a roll of the dice, because like there's how many people on this planet? You know?
Yeah, and just like that takes work and effort and constant attention and that sort of stuff. You know what's funny was you brought up Joey Diaz, and I think this is about wanting it more than somebody else, right? So I mentioned my friend opens for Joey Diaz, or did open for him at the time, and he lived in LA. And so I would talk to him on the phone, and he's like, oh man, I live in LA. You got to get out here, dude. I'm doing all these big clubs. You don't want to be in Vegas. You want to be in LA. And I was like, where do you live in LA? He was like, I live in my van on Hollywood Boulevard. And I was like, you see, you want it more than me. Like, I don't want it quite that. I have an apartment in Las Vegas. I want it that much, but I don't want van on Hollywood, but that's where I bow out and tap out. You know, I'm like, I'm back in Iowa. I have a place in Iowa. I'm not in a van, you know, but
we've talked about that a lot, because we've had a few other comics on and musicians, but yeah, I mean, it really, and that's honestly, man, that's where I got with my stand-up of like, I was going to school and working a part-time job and fucking around in stand-up and not getting paid. Like, it just like, you only have so much time and there's only so much you can juggle. And I think for a lot of people, they hit that point of, all right, I got to make a decision. I've either got to put all my chips in this basket and go for it, or I got to go get a day job and
don't get a girlfriend, man.
You know what I mean?
Well, you did. Hey, dude, you did it though. That's the thing. You know, you had already accomplished so much in it. You were funny. You are funny. You have a podcast, a very entertaining podcast, and you still did it, dude. So what? You didn't tour and end up in Wilton, Wisconsin with me in the middle on Valentine's Day and hate yourself, like Matt said. You know, you did it. You don't have to run all the way away to Vegas just to come back to Iowa.
And it was an awesome. And like, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad, Tom, because I felt like I learned enough about the business, really, and a lot of that through you, to like be able to talk to people about the entertainment business. Now, when I talk to our buddy Matt Taylor about what it's like to be a stand-up comic, I actually kind of know what the fuck I'm talking about a little bit.
Yeah, because you've lived it, you've experienced it, you know, like anything.
Also,
you know,
props to people who like have families and make it into things.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just crazy, and just kind of how you got into the documentary and got to film it. You were just talking there a second ago, like as far as the distribution and all that. So
yeah,
you've cut the. I mean, I guess how long? First off, did it take to just shoot the whole documentary in total?
We shot, I think, for about almost a year, and then maybe a couple months short of a year. We shot, and we filmed like every weekend when it worked for both of us, kind of thing, and tried to explore some different angles with it. And eventually I was like, we got to start cutting this to find our narrative and all that sort of stuff. So I started laying down the footage, and I cut the whole thing myself on Premiere. And as I was about, I don't know, like 3/4 of the way through it, I approached my friend who has 13 some films out that are indie films. His name's Don Chernagle, but in the comedy world where I know him from, he goes by Donzilla. And he's a longtime road comic. And so I brought it to Don, and I was like, Don, I don't really know how to distribute this thing, man. And I have this cool film, and I don't really know what to do. I kind of got in over my head where I don't know how to put this out to people, and I don't just want to put it on YouTube. And so he came on as an executive producer. He, pushed it into distribution for us. He helped me finish the edits and had notes and stuff on how to make it more narrative and more fun and all that sort of stuff. So he really helped carry the ball to the finish line and did so much for us with the project. He helped get it aired on Fox here, like through Iowa, which was really, that's how we debuted it, was on Fox. So that was really neat. And he just has like such a world of knowledge in the film world too. And he was a mentor too to me in the stand-up world, especially on the business side, when I first started out. I mentioned Bruce was kind of my creative mentor, and Don was a dirty comic, and I never wanted to be completely dirty. But what Don did was he was basically like an agent, and we had done tours and other stuff together. And so I really, leaned on him for that sort of thing. So he's still a friend, still helping me out. And we're filming a new movie right now, sporadically on the weekends and stuff. They've been filming it for like 2 years. I jump in at about the year mark with it. But it's called Huskies, and it's a PG rated basketball movie, like a family movie that's kind of a comedy drama thing that kind of shifts back and forth between funny and serious. But it's great. It's about a grudge match basketball game, like an alumni game. It's like old guys versus the young guys from a private school to a public school. And it's been really fun. It's my first sports movie, so that's been really hilarious. I play a fat like washed up middle school basketball coach in it, so I'm in it too, which is funny. And I get to yell at kids and break clipboards and make them run sprints and that sort of stuff. So
it's got to be a little bit more fun to shoot for you, at least. Yeah,
it was so much fun, dude. And we got my wife involved in it. My wife is she's way out of my league and stuff, and so she's in it. She's beautiful and hilarious in it too. And it has like 100-person cast. We got Dan Gable in it.
Nice.
From Iowa. Yeah, so we're trying to get some push from that, and same thing, we'll distribute. And so kind of how the distribution goes is it's like, at some point you have to hand the product over, and then they start pushing it to different streaming services and that sort of thing. And is it going to be on Netflix, my film? No, probably not. I'd love if it was, but right now it's on Amazon. You can rent or buy it, and you can buy it. I think you can rent it for as low as like 99 cents. It's on Tubi. You can watch it 100% for free, and I get paid no matter what. So please do it that way. And then there's another app called Fossum that's like on Roku TVs and Apple TVs and stuff. You can watch it on there. And I actually I can't completely talk about it yet because it's not uploaded yet, but there's another app that's like for smart TVs that it's going to be on here in the next week or so. So it's still just moving on upward. And I applied to a bunch of film festivals that'll, we'll see what happens there. And,
Yeah, man. See, that's wild because the podcast game is totally different. Like you could pretty much put whatever on like Apple, Spotify, like you have to go through and like clear their screening process.
Oh,
yeah. It's not like nobody listens to your shit. I mean, they just have like some AI bot, I'm sure, like scan it to make sure that there's no like copyright or whatever.
And that was kind of how this went, where like I think an AI bot probably skimmed through it, but it was still like there's still a distributor, like there's a real company with real people. But then when it shifts from them to the apps, like that's more for the rating. Like for some reason ours is rated TV 14. There's no swearing in it, but it shows like at one point they play with like laser tag guns. And I think the algorithm thought that's violence. And so it's like rated. So it's so stupid. But I listen to you guys on Spotify. That's where I listen to your podcast. So I think that's great. You want to be on those major big platforms. I think that's great.
So we pay a hosting service, I guess, that actually posts it on there.
Yeah.
We pay them, but like they handle all of that directly. So we don't have to pay extra to be on like Apple and Spotify.
And I'm kind of out of the loop in that Don handled all that for us, which was nice. But that was so freeing for me, is that I could just work on being creative and and he dealt with all the business side of all that, the legal and all that. And so I just dove into the editing and to the, but I did everything from the audio to the editing to the, lining up interviews and all that sort of stuff with Jordan and Matt and his family and everything. So yeah.
How long was the editing process?
I like to say that for every minute of video, you're going to spend at least an hour on it. So like, I don't know if you'd agree with that, Xavier, because it's very similar, it's like
very, it's very time consuming to edit. I love doing it, honestly. Like, that's why I think I'm going to pivot back into it. I just got to figure out what I'm going to edit. We had an idea to possibly do like a skit for our podcast. I got one of my friends who's been on the podcast before. He's like kind of touched on a little bit of stand-up, but he's more so an actor. He's done some commercials locally. He's a funny dude.
That's legit. Yeah.
Asking Dre, like, hey, want to help us write something? And I have a camera. It's nothing fancy. It's like a Canon 7D.
That'll work, dude. I shot the whole thing with a Panasonic G7. Okay. Like the entire movie shot with the little. So you know what was funny was when we were shooting it, no one kind of took us seriously either, because it's like this little. It looks like a camera you take pictures with.
Yeah.
But it shoots in 4K, and it's you know, it's the days are done of the big camera and all that. Like, I mean, if you're Marvel or something, then yeah, you're gonna have. But it was me with a tripod with a little camera and little microphone, little lapel microphones and stuff, and yeah. But it all turned out great. So I would tell you, you know, anything like that, you just, like you said, the editing actually it's a vigorous process, but it's fun. And then the shooting is fun. So even if you just do it for fun and you don't do anything with it, what's the harm? You know,
there's no harm in it at all.
Yeah.
What the hell you're doing, and I think again, this is kind of something I learned from you. And like, as long as it sounds good and looks good, like you're proud of it. Like that's all that really matters, because
truly
people will find it, and people will, like, if you're proud of it and you think it's good enough to put out. Now, I guess that's not true for everybody. I see some people doing TikTok reels and all that their parents probably should have told them.
But you watched it, so
yeah. But if you're at peace with it, if you're 2 girls, 1 cup, and you feel good about it, you're like, that was a good shoot. I think the cup and we all look good
about afterwards, man.
Dude, those girls. Think about if those girls had an OnlyFans, they would be multi-billionaires at this point. People would have paid good.
No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't.
We got it for free.
Because how everyone got introduced to 2 Girls, 1 Cup was, oh, check out this video. It's almost like a prank. One of my old friends was like, hey, check this out. I was like, he's like, you got to see this. Dude. I was like, what is it? He's like, just watch. He turns on. I'm like, dude, why are you showing me porn? Like, okay, sure, whatever, man. I'll see what happens. And then I'm like, that's not ice cream.
That's not ice cream.
I don't like this.
That was the time we were talking about Louis C.K. blocking a door. That's the time somebody blocked a door for me. They were like, stay in there and watch. I was like, no, let me out. Like, it was like, please, no. And forever, I'm still talking about it to this day. That's my therapy, to come on your podcast and drop that. So
that's wild.
That might be, the algorithm might find us, say that word, 2 girls, 1, and now you're kicked off Spotify because you had me on. So
about friggin' time. About friggin' time.
Now you fall into like Pandora or whatever. That's
yeah, exactly. Follow us on Pandora Podcast now. Yeah,
it's all wow.
But Tom, what do you like? I know you said you're working on Huskies and you're still touring now, right?
Well, I'm doing a little bit. I just did a show the other night, and I'm like venturing out. But you know, honestly, like I've kind of done the whole touring thing, and that sounds like a lie. Like, remember, nobody believes you, right? But I swear, like I love my wife, and I like my place. I like Iowa now, and I like being home and stuff. And I've kind of done everything I wanted to do with stand up like 5 times over. Yeah. And I know what touring is. It's being away from home. It's being alone. It's all that. Like we were talking about, like losing friends and that sort of stuff. So and I think it's making my creative process better to be comfortable. I used to think like the uncomfortability was good, that I was like, I got to keep driving and grinding. And it was like, but that just makes you exhausted. And then you're not relating to people and stuff. So I'm doing radio once a week. Every morning I'm on Rock 108 here in Cedar Rapids, which is a local rock station. And I go on and I do like a fake Letterman top 5. And I read like
on your Facebook. So how'd you get into doing that? Just fucking around?
I was just fucking, I was just like, now I'm doing like creative stuff more from home, like the video and stuff. So I was like, well, I got to still write jokes and stuff. So I think my first one was they had a casino that didn't get built here. So I was writing like top 10, top 5, like casino rejected names for the casino that didn't happen and stuff. And I wrote one today. I don't know if I should read. This is like, so like, this is one I wrote today. I was just fucking around, but it was like, top 10 things to throw away during spring cleaning, you know, like probably you'll clean in and you'd be throwing shit away. Like best of the Daily Show with Trevor Noah on Blu-ray. I feel like it's time to throw that away. He's done. Your Silicon Valley debit card. I feel like that bank's not coming back. You can cut that card up. Neuralink pre-order receipt. You know, they killed that monkey. That was done.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg versus Musk, ringside tickets. I don't think that fight's happening. I think if you bought tickets to that, that's like the Fire Fest or whatever, you got screwed. And the last one, Planet Fitness gym pass you signed up for on New Year's Eve. So if you didn't go by now, that ain't happening. So I write those, and then I do something like that on the radio. But there's another guy, Brian Marshall, that runs the radio show, and I'm just his guest basically, and he's been super generous and let me come on. And
yeah, hell yeah, man. Yeah, it's funny because I remember you telling me that's right around the time I met you when Twitter was getting big too, and that's when you tell me that, like, dude, Twitter's our spot now because you can put whatever on Twitter and see the reaction it gets, and then your next bit you take on stage. So I feel like what you're doing there with your top 5 is almost like, again, I said, like fueling that creative juice that eventually, I mean, you might write 5-10 minutes of a bit out of like one of your top 5 lists,
and I'm getting bits out of it. I think I'm starting to kind of build a local following out of it again, which is cool. And then I'm not touring, so I'm not putting that to use. So I don't know what I'm doing it for. But like at some point, it'll help push shows or whatever. If anything, like at the end of the day, like I said, I'm having fun. I'm enjoying doing it, and I'm proud of it. So then it's like, what's it matter? Like, what's funny about the radio is very much like this is like, if you did well, you just leave the room and you're just done. And you're like, I know that was killer. I don't need anybody to tell me it was good. Like sometimes some of those I write and I don't think they're great. And then other ones I'm just like, that was fucking fire. I don't give a shit.
That's how it goes with stand-up, right? Like you have to bomb a few times. You have to test stuff out before you're like, all right, I have an hour or 30-minute set. Like you have to test about the different demographics, different parts of the country.
That's what I've always said. Like, if you can go up in front of any amount of crowd and bomb at a comedy set,
you're on your way.
Like, you can literally go do. There's really nothing more uncomfortable than that. You could go do a public speaking gig after that ever. Because I was telling you, there's nothing worse than writing down something that you've been thinking of all week. That like as soon as it comes to you, you're like, oh, that's the funniest fucking joke I've ever thought of. People are gonna love this, and you jot it down and you go test it out and crickets, and you're just like, well, fuck me.
I've bombed more than anybody. I didn't mean to cut you, but we were talking about all the cool stuff I've done. That's because I've bombed a trillion times, and like, it's funny now, like to look back and 14 years later and say, oh, I did all this cool stuff, but it's like, nobody ever talks about the creative but I think the bombing is what stand-up is. Bombing is stand-up, because if stand-up was only success and fun and good, then everybody would do it. It's like you said, it's stomaching that, having humility, and realizing it's not about me, it's all about them. And if they say it doesn't fly, then it doesn't fly. Like it, like we were talking about Matt Rife earlier. Okay, maybe he found the line, like I think that's good. It'll be about whether Matt Rife has enough humility to come back, and he doesn't need to apologize. The next set is the apology, to come back and say, all right, let's go again. Now, if you're Kramer, there's no going again. That was that. But
and also, like, you're like constantly thinking these things. If you want to go back into doing stand-up on a level that you were, you could.
And I get, this sounds pretentious, but I get offers and stuff's come up where I've turned it down, and that's, maybe I'll regret that someday. But right now I'm just enjoying myself and my marriage and my life, and I have a puppy now, and I didn't get to live that life for years. And so I'm really leaning into that. But my wife's still super cool and support. Like, I went and did stand up like 2 hours away on Friday night, and she was like, go do it and stuff. So I went, I popped, I killed, I came back. And then it was like, so maybe that's the way to do it. But I would do a tour again, like a big one, if it was like filmed and it was going to be a whole production, or I'd like to shoot a special. I don't want to talk about it too much, but I'm trying to push towards that still, and trying to write and update material, and still keep my crowd work honed up and stuff like that. So I'm still doing it. I'm still having fun with it. I'm just doing it in such a different fashion than I did before. But what I told Trinego the other day, I was just with him last night. We're editing that film kind of as we go, kind of like a moving storyboard. And what I told him was, I was like, I thought Vegas was so cool, and I would have never done all these other facets. I wouldn't have been doing this radio. I wouldn't have been doing these film projects. All I was doing was stand up, and it was super cool, but it was very one dimensional, to just be doing that.
Yeah, really, really, really love it. Who in Who in stand-up, since you're like, I guess you're still following a lot of it, who are you paying attention to? Like Ralph Barbosa, like who do you like really like currently?
I really like, this is niche, but I really like Mark Normad. I think he's hilarious.
Hey,
Yeah, he's, I don't know. I respect that. I like, he's just different. I like Scholes that you talked about. I think he's great. Honestly, I respect there was different times when people would be like, I hate Larry the Cable Guy or whoever. And I'm like, yo, you can make money doing stand up. You're a genius. Like, I think any of that's cool. Cat Williams, I love Cat Williams. I'm glad he's back talking shit to everybody.
wait for his special drops.
Yeah, he was all fired up again, which I'm like, I don't like when they get so big that they get like they get kind of lame and whatever. But I like Sebastian. I feel like that hasn't gone to his head at all. I know his opener, Pat McGann, he's hilarious.
He's leaning into movies now.
That dude's sells out.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I've ever watched like a full stand-up from him, or maybe even at all, but I know who he is. But
yeah,
sells tickets for real.
He's in another like huge feature.
He's like Tom Segura level, like
he's playing the Win in Vegas, just killing it, or Encore, or one of those. And I mean, there's levels to everything, kind of like we were talking about, like, but some of those guys too, like sometimes I don't always like the big bigs. I watch like a stand-up special like Aziz or somebody, and I'm like, that's so far out of reach, that tier. That was one thing I realized in Vegas, was I was opening for everybody, right? I was having these big shows and stuff, but then you see these billboards and it's like Cher, Celine Dion, like whatever. And I was like, okay, I'm hanging out with Tom Green. And I was like, if everything goes right for me, I'll still never be Tom Green. And maybe that's not the goal. Maybe it's like Bruce and I just want to be an artiste and whatever. But if that is monetary wise, that's the goal, that'll probably never happen. And that's just Vegas. That's not LA. In LA, they're not even big. In LA, it's Al Pacino and and then there's a whole nother level of big bigs. And so it's like, but we all find success in our own way and stuff. So that didn't make me not want to do it. It just made me kind of say, why don't I go back home now that COVID happened, reposition, go down some different avenues.
Have you found a love for filmmaking the way you did for stand-up?
Yeah, I've always liked it, man. I originally, what's funny was originally I made funny videos. Or I thought I did. I wasn't funny at the time, but I thought I was making funny because YouTube had just come out.
Yeah.
Like when I was that ages me, but I thought I'm gonna make YouTube videos. But it was kind of like you said, Xavier, where it's like they get, people fall off. And I didn't like that I didn't have control over that. Like somebody wouldn't be available, or they had a girlfriend, or like you said, they got in trouble and they couldn't drive or whatever. And then it was like, I was relying on all these people for my skits. And then so I realized, I was like, I'll just go do stand up and maybe I'll film that and that'll be my videos. And then I should have pursued that, because that making videos of it, because that's the big thing now, but then I just was getting so high off the rush of the stage that I was like, oh my God, I love this. Where has this been my whole life? So
that's what they all say. Joey Diaz in his book talks about how his whole life was insane. He got into stand-up because he was in prison. And I think the one night they're supposed to watch movies with all the other prisoners, like the projector broke and they were like, well, we need some entertainment. And they're like, you're funny as hell. Get up on stage and talk some shit. That's what he did every single Wednesday. He was in there for a while. And one of the guys, he talks individually about certain prisoners and what they did to get in there. And he said one guy killed his wife and his wife's lover. And he was like, you're really talented. He's like, if you come back in here, I'm going to kill you. And he's like, and I don't think that dude was joking. He's like, so that gave me some extra motivation. Then when he got out, like, that was one of his main grinds. Like, I think I can do this. And he was killing it. He was killing it like right off the bat. Like, this is your first time? And
we were talking war stories earlier about the yacht club, and the yacht club was a rough room, but I think prison is probably a little bit more rough.
He was killing it in there. He said he was just kind of like talking shit. It wasn't really him planning stuff, but then he's like, prison was different. I could just go in there and just say whatever's off the top of my mind, off of my, like, whatever I'm thinking in the spot. And he said that he's like, well, now I'm out here trying to pursue this. I got to plan things out.
Yeah. And then you have so even when I said like I like to do the crowd, I like it to be chaos, and I still have a structure that I stick with. I still know like I'm gonna get from point A to point B, and I kind of lead them around through that, like on this wild ride. But I still like have somewhat control of the ship, so to speak, as it flies around.
How many? I don't know if I can ask you this right now, but how many minutes are you sitting on right now? Would you say?
Like stand up?
Yeah, like refined stuff.
Oh, I honestly, again, I'm not trying to sound pretentious, but I probably have like 3 hours of material, or more. And then, but then what happens is, a lot of guys, when they get going, they're like, I can do 30 minutes. And you're like, I'm not asking you to do 30 minutes. I'm asking you to kill 30 minutes. And so somebody with a couple hours of material that scrunches down to 30 is a kill feature, or a kill host. And then I pick the best 10 minutes, the 10 minutes I know is going to rip, out of that. Now, some of that is like, when I say 3 hours, some of it's old stuff that I don't do anymore. Some of it's like, stuff about race, religion, sex, politics that I don't really do anymore that I thought was fun. So I like to talk a lot about food, relationships, obviously I like food, right?
All your personal life.
Yeah.
You are more.
But now it's more me, less bits, less bits, more me. And then again, I like to talk about them and improv with them and structure it off of that. Again, probably sounds out there, and because that's probably not normally a comedian might tell you like I have a strict set list where I go down the line and I know I'm going to say, but I was touring so much, I was doing that, and then it got really boring for me because I was like, here's my joke about this, here's the other joke that follows that, and I was doing that 300 nights a year. And so I was like, fuck that, man. I want to I gotta improv and flow and like kind of freelance it with them, freestyle it,
Like what Bugs Bunny talks about on Space Jam, getting locked up, having to do stand up 300 nights out of the year.
Yeah. I feel like the more personable, the closer you feel to a joke, where you're like, I feel this in my soul.
Yeah.
It's the better jokes. If you just try to comment on everything you see in the news, it's like, it's kind of hokey.
Yeah, it is hokey. And there gets to be a lot of parallel thinking. It can get to be hack, it's where you do
something that's not what everyone's paying attention to. If you can think outside the box or present an idea to everyone, you're like, oh my God, there's things I've heard stand-up comedians say where I'm like, I have thought of this and never told anyone.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if you dive
it's universal truth. Yeah.
Some kind of perception about something, you're like, oh, that's ingenious. Like a what if that's like super far out there, but you're like, that's plausible.
Yeah. I'm always looking for truth, universal truth. The truth is funny because we agree,
Yes. Yeah.
When we agree, we clap. We go, oh, I agree, and when you disagree, what do you say? You're like, I just didn't relate. I can't relate to what he's talking about or what she's talking about or they're talking about. But yeah, when you agree, then you laugh because you're like, haha, that's true. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely true, man. And I got 100% agree. I'm just those are always the best ones. Oh shit! Well, there we go. Oh,
it's happening.
But all right, well, Tom, I'm not gonna make you sit through another relaunch here. So
well, thank you guys so much for having me, man. Like seriously, God bless. I really appreciate it. You guys are both doing something really cool. Thanks for letting me crash your show, have me on. Super generous and cool of you guys. So and thanks for checking out the movie. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. We shared a trailer on the Facebook earlier. So for all the listeners out there, make sure you go watch either free on Tubi or just buy the damn movie on Amazon, you cheap bastards. Arcade Gamer, The True Story. Download it now. Go follow Tom on Facebook at Tom Garland on Facebook, Tom Garland LV on Instagram. Tom, any other shows you got coming up here soon you wanted to plug as well?
Yeah, I'm in Chicago on March 1st. So I'm going in there for a night, and it probably begins all over again with that. So if you wanted to follow my schedule or check out any of my stuff, it's just TomGarlandStandup.com.
All right, that has all your stand-ups on it that you've done previously.
It's, I need to upload more clips, but it's got my clips on there. Otherwise, if you just YouTube Tom Garland, you'll find really good clips of me. And then you'll find probably odd clips of me that people filmed without asking me over the years. But there's all sorts of stuff out there. Yeah. And then at some point, hopefully I get that special and onward and upward, But thank you again for having me on, guys.
Yeah, really Tom, do me a favor. When you get closer to launching Huskies, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'd love to come on. I'd love to bring Don on. His story is incredible. Real quick, he was out in Las Vegas for years. He was one of the youngest people to ever play the Las Vegas Strip. He was out there, and it just, his story is cool. He's an Iowa boy, done right too. And so, Huskies should be out more than likely this year. Just later this year, we're hoping for like a summer launch. So. I'll stay in touch. Thank you guys. Really.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. We really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe to us on Facebook, subscribe to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to our Patreon while you're at it. So appreciate it, Tom.
Nice meeting you, man.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you too as well. Good to see you, Brian.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you, man.
I'd like to begin with a fact.